Kevin Haig.
Well, thank you, Mr Chair. And indeed, picking up from my good friend Ian Lee-Scalloway, we do wish to move faster. So the Green Party will be voting in favour, in fact, of Mr Lee-Scalloway's SOP, but also those from David Clark and Te Uraroa Flavel, because we believe that each and every one of those is better than what stands in the bill currently. And probably our preference of the three would be Mr Flavel's SOP, because it's the one that is closest, in fact, to the recommendation of the Law Commission. Right now, Mr Chair, I have living nearby my place on the West Coast, a young French guy, in his 20s, and he comes to our place to watch the rugby. And one of the things that has astonished him about New Zealand is that when he looks at the rugby on our screens, he sees alcohol sponsorship of our teams, and he sees alcohol advertising on TV. And in fact, in France, the country he's from, in 1991, all television advertising of alcohol was prohibited, and all alcohol sponsorship of sporting and cultural events was prohibited. So, Mr Chair, that's one of the reasons why he has been absolutely astonished by what he has seen. And, you know, at that same time, 1991, New Zealand actually embarked on a similar kind of measure, because it was in 1990 that New Zealand took a step in relation to tobacco advertising and sponsorship, using exactly the same rationale that had been used in France in respect of alcohol, to prohibit advertising and sponsorship by the tobacco industry. And we did so for various reasons. We wanted to reduce consumption of tobacco products and all of the harm associated with those. We wanted to reduce the normalisation of tobacco consumption. And indeed, these have been the effects of that extremely successful policy that we implemented at that time. That we have reduced the harm, we have reduced the normalisation, and that has in turn created the environment for us to continue to go further and in our ongoing campaign to minimise the harm associated with tobacco consumption. And so tobacco companies have been prevented from making the implied claims about positive attributes of their products and of those who consume them. And I'm sure all members are familiar with the old-style tobacco advertising that basically associates consumption of tobacco products with being a happy, relaxed, successful, sexy member of society. These are precisely the claims that are made by the alcohol industry about their products and about the consumers of their product. And interestingly, sir, in 1990 we instituted this restriction on advertising and sponsorship for tobacco, but in 1992 we effectively removed all of the controls on advertising and sponsorship of alcohol. And this weird dichotomy in the way that New Zealand parliaments have approached these two products that are both legally consumed, but with each is associated an extraordinary degree of harm. That dichotomy continues to perplex everyday New Zealanders, but also members of this House looking for consistency in the approach that we take to such products. So right now, sir, every 9 minutes on primetime television, television viewers are exposed to alcohol advertising, every 9 minutes. And so 90% of children and young people aged between 5 and 17 are exposed to television advertising on at least a weekly basis. 90%, sir. So that is the ubiquity of the advertising and sponsorship from the alcohol industry. Now, I mentioned in an earlier contribution in this committee stage health promotion theory that says if we want to actually improve people's health, Mr. Chair, then the things that we need to do are to empower communities to take control of their life circumstances, but also to create supportive environments around those communities. And with the advertising and sponsorship from the alcohol industry that is currently permitted, that environment is one in which pretty much our communities are surrounded by, bathed in the blue light from the television tube advertising these products. That is the environment that we create. We create an environment that we know, in fact, will lead to harm, will normalise the excessive consumption of alcohol products. So that's, it's that normalisation of alcohol consumption that we need to tackle, and any of these SOPs would do that better than the current bill. But sir, it's also important to point out that increased consumption is associated with this advertising and sponsorship. The industry wouldn't do it if it didn't lead to more people consuming more alcohol. And the industry spends literally hundreds of millions of dollars each year on advertising and sponsorship, which means that their net profit associated with that spend is even greater, which means that the sales of the products are even greater still. So the Law Commission said that it should all go, and that's what we support. 86% of the submissions to the Commission supported that goal, a total prohibition. And in the 2010 Health Sponsorship Council survey of public opinion, 77% were either in favour of a total ban or were agnostic towards it, neutral about it. Now that's a pretty outstanding majority for that total prohibition, and so the reasons for not doing it simply don't apply. I recognise the transition point that Ian Galloway makes, but I say let's do the same thing that we did around tobacco. Let's create a fund to fund that transition for the industry, for those community organisations that rely on that sponsorship. So let us, sir, do what the Law Commission said. And instead of the first stage of the Commission's three-stage program, let's implement all three of those stages. And sir, that's I think probably all I have time for in this call, but if the opportunity arises, I'll take a further call to make some further points.
David Clark.
Chair, thank you. I rise to speak to this part in particular.